Something was decided about you recently, and no one on earth told you. A season-long review of your life quietly closed. A verdict was written next to your name, and the verdict was one word: passed. Chosen one, I need you to sit with the strangeness of that sentence, because you did not know you were being examined. There was no announcement. No proctor cleared the room. The test was woven so deeply into your ordinary days that you called it hardship, and you called it delay, and some nights you called it abandonment. It was none of those things. It was an evaluation, and it is over. I am told that when a person passes this kind of hidden test, heaven does not stay formal about it. Something leans forward, the way a father leans forward when his child, who does not know anyone is watching, quietly does the right thing at cost to themselves. That lean happened over your life. If you have felt a strange warmth in your chest during these last weeks, a sense of being seen that you could not explain, that was not your imagination. That was the moment the grading ended. And here is what changes now, the part this entire message exists to explain. From this point forward, your life moves from self-funded to heaven-funded. I do not mean a lottery ticket. I mean something far more reliable and far more strange. A shift in how provision reaches you that most people never experience, because most people never finish the test. Before this message ends, you will know exactly what that funding looks like, where the first deposit already landed, and the one thing that could still block the transfer. 3 things are coming to you in the next few minutes. You will understand why every past season of lack was never poverty at all. You will feel the exhaustion of carrying your own life alone begin to lift. And you will be handed one practical step to open the account tonight. Stay with me, because the third one is the piece almost everyone misses. First, let me name something you live with. You have a pattern with provision that has never made sense. Every time you get slightly ahead, something arrives to eat it. The car, the tooth, the bill that materializes out of nowhere. You can be careful for months and watch it vanish in a week. Meanwhile, people with half your discipline seem to catch breaks they did not plant. You have explained this to yourself as bad luck, or bad math, or some vague unworthiness you would never say out loud. But that explanation has a hole in it, because the pattern is too precise to be random. Randomness does not time itself to your almost breakthroughs. Something with structure is operating here, and structure means it can be found. And what can be found can be unlocked. There is a name for that structure. I will give it to you shortly, because you cannot unlock what you cannot name. For now, hear the first relief of this message. The pattern was never proof that you fail with provision. It was the final section of the exam, and you just finished it. So mark the moment. Type, "I passed the hidden test" in the comments right now. Heaven already recorded the result. But there is something powerful about a person who finally agrees with their own verdict. Then stay close, because I want to show you what the examiners were actually watching. The test was never what you thought it was. You assumed, if heaven was examining anything, it was examining your output, your prayers per week, your performance, your ability to stay positive. None of that was on the paper. What was being watched was who you became when provision was thin and nobody was applauding. They watched you stay kind while you were broke. Kindness in abundance is manners. Kindness in lack is character. And character was the subject of the exam. They watched you give when giving made no mathematical sense. The small bill slipped to someone worse off. The free hours you gave a person who could never repay you. You forgot those moments. Nothing that was watching forgot. They watched you refuse the shortcut. There was a door you could have walked through, a compromise that would have paid quickly, and you felt the pull, and you did not take it. You never told anyone how close you came. That refusal, the one no human witnessed, carried more weight than a year of visible goodness. And they watched the quietest thing of all. After every collapse, every closed door, every humiliating setback, you kept believing. Not loudly, sometimes with barely a thread. But the thread never fully snapped, and in the grading system of heaven, A thread that survives a storm outranks a rope that never met weather. Now, let me show you why the whole season had to feel like withholding. Every act I just named was being written down. Not one kindness, not one refusal, not one thread of stubborn faith went unrecorded. There is an old principle that what is done in secret is repaid openly, which means somewhere there exists a record of everything you did when you thought no one saw. We call it the unseen ledger, and the reason provision stayed thin during the writing is simple and almost unbearable in its tenderness. The reward had to wait until the record was complete, or it would have interrupted the very faithfulness it was rewarding. Do you see what that does to your past? Those years were not evidence that heaven overlooked you. They were the pages filling up. You were not being denied. You were being documented. Every month you thought you were falling behind. Your balance on the other side of the veil was quietly climbing. You have never been poor. You have been accruing. The shepherd boy David knew this waiting room. He was anointed king as a teenager, oil running down his face, and then sent straight back to the sheep. Years in fields, then years in caves, hunted by the very throne he was promised. The anointing did not fail during those years. It was compounding. And when the crown finally came, it sat on a man the caves had made unshakable. The delay was not the denial of the kingship. It was the funding of it. If your eyes are stinging right now, do not wipe that away too fast. That is the feeling of a record you did not know existed, being read back to you. Type "faithful over little" in the comments, because that phrase is the exact line the ledger closes with, and you will want to remember tonight as the night you learned it was there. But a ledger raises a question that will not sit still. If the record is complete, and the verdict is passed, and the funding is released, why has your bank account not noticed yet? Why does the breakthrough feel legally yours and physically absent? That gap has an explanation, and it is not spiritual. Hold on, because this is where the message turns. To close that gap, you first need to know what heaven funding actually looks like, because almost everyone pictures it wrong. You are imagining a deposit with too many zeros. That happens, but it is the rarest channel, and usually the last one. The funding of heaven moves through 4 channels that are faster, quieter, and far more valuable than cash. The first channel is ideas. One idea, arriving at the right hour, outperforms a decade of salary. Every fortune and every rescue you have ever admired began as a thought someone caught. The second channel is favor. A person you did not chase decides, for reasons they could not fully explain, to open a door for you. Favor cannot be budgeted. It simply reroutes your life in an afternoon. The third channel is timing. You arrive somewhere late, annoyed, and discover late was the only version of that day that worked in your favor. And the fourth channel is people. The mentor, the ally, the one honest friend at the right table. When the old texts say a blessing, they rarely mean a check. They mean an alignment of ideas, favor, timing, and people so precise, it becomes undeniable. The ancient language has a word for what just ended in your life. The Greek word is dokimazo. It does not simply mean tested. It means tested with the intention of approving, the way a refiner tests gold, not to shame the gold, but to certify it. You were never being examined by a suspicious judge hoping to catch you. You were being certified by a father intending, the whole time, to approve you. The exam was rigged toward your passing. It just could not be easy, or the certificate would mean nothing. Now I need to set something in front of you and ask you to hold it while we finish. A few years ago, in research laboratories, a discovery was made that most people of faith have never heard about. Not because it opposes anything sacred, but because it came from a direction the faithful rarely watch. A team of neuroscientists, led by a doctor in New York, found something measurable about the way the human mind receives, something that quietly decides how much of what is sent to a person actually arrives in usable form. It is anchored in research that won a Nobel Prize. and it explains the gap between what heaven releases and what your hands end up holding. I will open it fully in a little while, because it deserves the whole picture first. Until then, carry this question. What if the transfer was approved long ago, and the delay you are living in is not on the sending side at all? While you carry it, do one thing. The channels I named, ideas, favor, timing, people, only flow into hands that are not clenched. So type, "My hands are open," in the comments. Write it slowly. Something in a person changes posture when they stop bracing for lack and start positioning for receipt. Because here is the truth nobody told you about funding. It is not sent in bulk. It is streamed continuously, like water pressure against a valve. And that means the size of your breakthrough was never being decided in heaven. It is being decided every single day by the width of the valve. Which brings us to the lock. Here is the symptom that exposes the lock. When something good arrives in your life, watch what your body does. A compliment comes, and you deflect it before it finishes landing. An opportunity opens, and your first thought is what could go wrong. Money arrives, and instead of peace, you feel a low hum of anxiety, as if holding it were dangerous. You do not celebrate increase. You brace against it. You have called that humility, or realism, or being careful. It is none of those. It is a setting, somewhere in your early life, in a season of real scarcity or real disappointment. Your inner system learned that lack is normal, and abundance is a threat that precedes loss. The lesson was written into you so young that it stopped feeling like a lesson and started feeling like the truth. And from that day forward, the setting has quietly regulated everything that reaches you. Not by blocking provision, by shrinking it. The stream arrives at full pressure, and the setting narrows the opening to a trickle it considers safe. This is the trickle lock. A mind calibrated to lack cannot pass through more than lack-sized portions, no matter how much has been approved on the other side of the valve. There is a story told about a master who handed 3 servants sums of silver before a journey. To one he gave 5 measures, to another 2, to another 1. And the text adds a phrase, "People skip, each according to his ability." The transfer was sized to the container. When the master returned, the faithful containers were not just praised, they were enlarged. "You have been faithful over little," the master said. "Now I will set you over much." The sequence is fixed. Capacity first, transfer second. Now run your history back through that lens one more time. The windfalls that evaporated, the raises that somehow disappeared into new emergencies, the seasons where you prayed for more while your deepest wiring was quietly marking more as unsafe. None of that was heaven withholding. That was a lock doing exactly what it was set to do decades ago by a child who was only trying to survive. You owe that child gratitude, and you owe them an update. So here is the question that should be burning now. If the verdict is passed, and the ledger is full, and the funding is streaming, why does knowing all of this still not open the valve? Why do insights like tonight glow for a day and change nothing by Friday? The answer is not more information. It sits in a place you have probably never thought to look, and it is precisely where that laboratory discovery comes in. Let me say it plainly, without imagery, because you deserve mechanics in daylight. Here is the why. A setting written into the nervous system cannot be removed by an idea, because it does not live where ideas live. It runs underneath thought, which is why you can believe in abundance and still flinch at increase. Here is the what. That underneath layer has a physical basis in how the 2 halves of the brain coordinate, and in almost every adult, that coordination has degraded, which keeps old settings locked in place. And here is the who. This is not rare, and it is not weakness. It is the ordinary condition of the modern mind. It is measurable, and it can be restored. The lock is real, but it was never the end of your story. You now know what has been narrowing the stream your whole life. The only question left is what actually opens a valve that thought alone cannot reach. That is exactly what was found. There is a study that won the Nobel Prize in 1981, not from a seminary, from a research laboratory. Dr. Roger Sperry proved that the human brain is two hemispheres designed to operate as one synchronized instrument, and that the synchronized state is where deep receiving actually happens. Clarity, insight, the capacity to hold increase without flinching. Out of sync, the same faithful person runs on fog and old settings. The number that should stop you is this one. Roughly 98% of children test at the level of creative genius. Hemispheres wide open, valves wide open. Fewer than one adult in 1,000 keeps it. Modern noise, stress and survival slowly pull the instrument apart, and every old lock stays sealed inside the drift. Your Trickle Lock has a physical address. That is not shameful. That is hopeful, because addresses can be visited. A woman from California described her life before she found what I am about to describe. She had prayed, journaled, fasted, and kept hitting the same wall. She believed every promise and could not feel one of them. 10 days in, a channel that had been blocked her whole adult life simply opened. Not because she tried harder, because the receiver was repaired. A man from Texas put it plainer. Years of carrying everyone had flattened his mind into static, and provisions slid through his hands like water. 2 weeks in, he woke up with a quiet head and made 2 decisions he had circled for a year. He did not become someone else. He got his instrument back. What they found is this. A team of neuroscientists, led by Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City, compressed over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind used in specialized settings to restore whole brain coordination, into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. Headphones, closed eyes, 8 minutes a day. Nothing to perform. They call it the genius switch. The genius switch is not music to relax you, and not a meditation you must master. It is a precise sequence built on the Sperry research to draw the 2 hemispheres back into the synchronized state you were born in, working beneath awareness while you rest. That matters for you specifically, because the Trickle Lock lives beneath awareness, and only something that reaches that layer can loosen it. And it is not for everyone. The genius switch is for the chosen one, who understands that God prepared not only the funding but the vessel meant to hold it. The one who passed the hidden test, who stayed faithful over little, and who is ready to stop treating a narrow valve as a life sentence. On value, the numbers speak quietly. One neurofeedback session costs about $300, and colleagues told Dr. Barone this would be fair at $500. It was released at $49, and the official page currently holds it at $39, 4 free gifts included, covered by an unconditional money-back promise. If nothing opens, every dollar returns. But hear the real cost, because it is not $39. Every week the instrument stays out of sync is another week. Approved provision streams against a nearly closed valve. Not because heaven pulled back, because the depth of the receiver decides the depth of the receipt. What has been arranged for you deserves the full version of you arriving to meet it. One caution: copies with similar names and nothing inside them circulate online. The mechanism exists only in what his team built, and the only verified door is in the description below and in the pinned comment. If your spirit resonates, read the page and decide in peace. And keep this in order. The tool does not replace God. It cannot love, obey, or believe for you, and heaven owes no tool anything. But a repaired vessel gives what heaven is already pouring somewhere honest to land. Now come back to the deeper current with me, because the ledger has one final page. And for the chosen one who felt something stir when the vessel was mentioned, that door remains open in the description below. A small step, but the funded life has always favored people who take small steps with open hands. Now let me show you what tomorrow actually looks like, because the ledger has one final page, and it is written in the future tense. There is a morning coming, sooner than you think, when you wake up and the dread is simply not there. You reach for it out of habit and find calm instead. An idea arrives with your coffee, whole and obvious, and you catch yourself laughing at how simple it was. There is an afternoon coming when a person you barely know says the sentence that reroutes your year. There is an evening coming when you check what used to terrify you, the numbers, the inbox, the plans, and you feel the strange, sturdy peace of a person whose supply lines run deeper than their circumstances. None of that is fantasy. That is what streaming provision looks like when the valve finally matches the flow. So let us open the valve together, right now, as far as tonight allows. Sit back. Let your jaw unclench and your hands rest open on your lap. Picture a narrow iron valve in the center of your chest, rusted at the setting a frightened child once chose. Now watch a hand, scarred and unhurried, reach in and turn it. Feel the click. Warmth spreads outward from your chest to your fingers, the pressure of an old bracing dissolving into width. Hold that width for 3 slow breaths. Whenever this week tries to reinstall the trickle, put your hand over your chest and breathe once, and your body will remember the click before your mind can argue. That is your anchor. The child who set the valve did their job. You are relieving them of duty tonight. Stand with me in this final moment, chosen one, because a verdict this large deserves a seal. Father, thank you, not for what is arriving, but for what was recorded. Not one hidden kindness was lost. Not one secret refusal went unseen. The ledger was full when we thought the account was empty. Hold that in silence for a breath. Now, release what the funded life cannot carry. Release the bracing. Release the shame of the lean years. They were pages, not punishment. Release the reflex that shrinks every gift to a safe size. Release the identity of the one who barely gets by. Let it all fall. It kept you alive. It cannot take you where the transfer goes. And now stand up on the inside and declare it. I am the one who passed. I am faithful over little and ready for much. I am a vessel, widened and awake. I am not self-funded anymore. I am the chosen one whose supply flows from a source that cannot run dry. Say it calmly. Calm is how a true verdict sounds. Type, I am funded by heaven in the comments as your signature in the ledger. Tonight, while the ink of this hour is still wet. If this message found you, send it quietly to one person who has been faithful in the dark and thinks nobody noticed. You may be the messenger their ledger has been waiting for. And if you intend to keep walking with these words, join the chosen ones who gather here, so the next installment finds you already positioned. It is done, and so it is. The first deposit was never money. It was tonight, and it has already cleared.